Balance Pod.
So, welcome back. Podcast episode, 11 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're 10 more episodes away from the
Being in the
goal,
99%.
the 99% goal.
20 episodes.
Yep. So, I guess this is kind of a celebratory thing, and we didn't have anything to put out for next Monday. So we're just kind of here.
Yeah.
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 You know what I was actually thinking of doing? Because I've been doing fighting and a lot of just sitting around and doing nothing.
Same.
And sitting around and doing nothing in a purposeful intent, I'd like to add. Because at least I've been taking maybe an hour. I stop working at 6:30 and I take from 6:30 to 7:30. I just I do nothing. I just sit in the darkness and face towards that ping pong table.
Mm-hmm. What you've been keeping track of?
You're so fucking loud if you lean back.
Okay. So you've been keeping track or writing down your dreams lately.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. For what purpose, or why did you start doing that?
Well, there's a lot. I feel like even when I'm going to sleep, there's a sort of pattern that I can recognize into where my brain just starts thinking of incoherent nonsense. But I feel like that incoherent nonsense is actually something that's good for humans to understand. Because we only use a very, very small select percentage of information that we have. And I feel like at least through or at least for me, I thought understanding what's in that subconscious would get me closer to God. Because what's in my head, I don't know if there's something that was already there from when I was born.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of memories that I've suppressed unconsciously. And they're just stuck in there. All the information that I've ever absorbed, it's just stuck in there in one place. But because of various external reasons, I've been locked out of that chamber in my mind. So I feel like dreams are the first step in which I can kind of get closer to that. And that's why I've been writing them down.
You're saying that the information that we have access to is in our conscious, and the rest of it is in our subconscious.
Yeah, you also sound like you sound like a robot.
Yeah, I do. All right. Okay, but so that information will help you come closer to God.
Don't speak into the mic. You're so loud.
Bro, my bad.
You're so loud.
My bad.
The difference between my vocal levels and the difference between your vocal levels is crazy. Mine are fluctuating like this, and yours is going up and down the screen, bro. Relax. Don't speak into the mic.
Yeah, my bad. Okay. So I was asking, so you think that information that you don't know, that you don't have access to, will help you get closer to God?
That's the intent, I'd say. Because, like, what else? There's something in there. At least this is my preconception. I've done no research into it. There's something in there. And I think the people that understand that something in there are the people that kind of ascend. Or not ascend, but they're capable of doing higher things. Or they have a deeper connection. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, expressed in a lot of literature as well.
Yeah.
Because even traditional literature, even if you go past traditional literature, a lot of self-help books and stuff, they're telling you to understand like the inner workings of your subconscious. And I think a lot of philosophers have talked about that as well. Mm-hmm. I remember there was a lot about that when I was reading about Socrates. But even in contemporary works, if I was looking at Bleach, for example, which is an anime,
yeah,
and I was even thinking about this, I think it's more the Japanese philosophy, but also it's so deep rooted into that manga, where it's basically like the power, like you get more power. The most powerful people in that entire series are people that like understand different aspects of their brain that isn't their conscious self.
Mm-hmm.
And even reading about like Miyamoto Musashi, I think the Japanese, I think first where I got introduced to it was Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I stepped back...
because you're an anime fan?
Yeah, because I'm an anime fan.
Yeah.
But then when I step back and I look at other larger life contexts, then I feel like there is a deeper understanding there. And I feel like humans in general, I don't know about you specifically, but whenever I look for a piece of entertainment, by the end, if it's a memorable piece of entertainment, I try to always look for the deeper meaning in it. And I feel, or there was something that I read in Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, that even in the prologue, it's basically just saying that people are trying to look for a deeper meaning in everything. And like they're looking for it externally. And I feel like if if we're wired to look for things like that externally, we should start by looking internally first. And I think accessing the information from the subconscious is, or through dreams at least, is the first step of that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I've never like asked anyone if they're wants to observe or try to obtain meanings from external things.
Well, okay. Well, I've always thought that the meaning we make from, for example, of a piece of entertainment, again, just like I said, is we make meaning out of it. There was no intent for meaning to be created out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
even if like.
But I think that's the good thing.
Okay, sure.
Or that's the valuable thing about entertainment.
Yeah.
That it can be interpreted in so many ways, and we can make entertainment out of it, or we can make that meaning out of it. But in terms of searching inner, for me, I've always been a little scared, or not scared. I've just been hesitant because I feel like I'm not at that place yet where or I feel like there's a certain stage because when you think of people who are searching in their subconscious, right? You're thinking of people like, for example, yogis, which, if you don't...
They renounce all material desires. They're...
yeah.
Is that what you're trying to hint at?
Yeah, like, I feel like those people are at a stage that I'm not there yet. And so for me, I've been hesitant to step into that. But I think there's no harm in getting started or writing down dreams, like you said, after talking with you.
I feel like there's never a stage where you truly, like, I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah.
I feel like for yogis especially, even when I was reading the yogi book, the autobiography of a yogi, he, I don't think, was ever, or at least the transition from childhood to adulthood, it's not like he gets to a stage of life. There's just a part in the book. I guess it's always pushing for him to be a yogi. He thinks his dharma is to be a yogi.
Uh-huh. Oh.
But it's a very hard transition. I think it's after his mother's death. It's been a while since I've read the book.
Yeah.
But I think right after his mom died, and he hears about some circumstances surrounding his mom's death. About, because he had a dream, I think, that his mom's gonna die, because she was like frequently diagnosed with some illness, but that illness was never life-threatening. But one day he woke up from a dream and told his dad that his mom was gonna die and we should hurry to see her. And his dad was like what the hell, like, there's no way. Yeah. But then due to his persistent begging, he eventually goes to his mom's like deathbed where she's already died because his dad delayed them going there. And he hears later from her older brother that he hears from his older brother that when she was dying, his mom told the older brother that he was to renounce all material desires and go for like the path of a yogi.
Okay.
And
he hears from his older brother.
Older brother. Yeah. And even though he's always pushed in that direction, I think that moment, or at least from what I remember of the book, that's when he he makes a hard switch and tries to seek out the divine.
Wait, you might have to edit this out. But his older brother said what again?
His older brother said that his mom told him at her deathbed that like he was destined to become a yogi or something.
Oh.
And there's also something with,
okay.
If I remember correctly, about how he was super ill as a kid, and his father's mentor, which was also a yogi, he kind of not nursed, but he, like, through prayer and stuff, he was brought back to life. So he's always had some divine things surrounding his life path. But the thing about him becoming a yogi, there was hints in his life, but I think there was a point in which he made a hard transition.
Well, if you believe in reincarnation, then you could argue that his life being centered around this divinity is because of, that could be the stage that I'm referring to, like, or as in he's here.
Oh, like you're not ready for this life.
I'm not. Yeah, because I've never had that kind of. I mean, I've had that thought that there's something higher to be achieved. But I've always felt that I should do that once I get to a certain point.
Sit back.
Yeah, my bad.
Or move the mic up forward. It's breaking the audio.
My bad. Good?
Speak like how you were speaking earlier.
Yeah, okay. This is how I was speaking earlier.
Okay. much better.
All right.
Okay.
But yeah. In terms of, or going back to what you were saying about how we're wired to making meaning out of things, I think that making meaning doesn't have to be from inside, right? I know you started and I started by making meaning out of things, by making meaning out of not a piece of entertainment like we said earlier, but making meaning out of our lives, for example. I wouldn't argue that's necessarily something inner. We were just searching for a general meaning, like something greater.
What, our function within society?
Yeah, something like that. But that's external. That's not internal. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm talking people make meaning out of material things. Like this watch was passed down through my mom's family for generations.
Yeah.
The watch doesn't have any value to it, but you're giving it value, as you were saying earlier.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I feel like that's a way in which people assign meaning to things, and I feel like societal. That's an interesting thing that you brought up too, because I don't really have an answer to that, but I also feel like yogis or people at that really advanced stage, they don't really care about societal or their place in society.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree.
They're solely searching internally.
Yeah.
I feel like for people like us, we need a balance, because unless either of us just hard rejects reality and just goes and sits on a mountain all day long, which I don't think we.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we're
wired. I don't think we're
wired to do that.
Yeah, or at least I don't think that's the.
Because you said this yogi, even from a young age, he had these feelings.
Yeah.
Do he have those feelings? What? Maybe re-elaborate what kind of feelings he has.
It's more. He has some sort of attraction to divinity.
From how early?
Very, probably when he was born, as soon as he realized he had feelings.
Okay.
He was very attracted to his father's mentor, I think, but his father's mentor passed away when he was very, very young.
Okay.
He'd always try to go learn from him or something like that.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I don't think that we're like that.
We're not wired to think that way.
Yeah, you said it's from a very young age. As soon as you're able to feel things.
Yeah. Well, that's the concept of dharma, right? It's a different thing. But I feel like I feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like for me, I feel like it's a duty for myself to actually understand, or to at least open up the gateway.
Yeah.
So that some version of me in whatever era can rip that door open and actually get in there and see what that's
I don't know about that, but in general, I don't want to not read more about something just because I'm scared of it or I'm hesitant. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to not open something because of my fear of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But in what sense are you waiting for the right time, or how would you know that the time is right?
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do what?
I don't want to. Right now, I'm hesitant to learn more about that, but I don't want that hesitancy to stop me from learning more about it. Or not hesitancy. I don't know what to say. I expressed earlier that I'm not really, or I think that only yogis can kind of get into this or whatever. But just because of that preconceived notion, I don't want to, not write my dreams down or something like that. Mm. So it's as you were saying. I think there's a balance, and I should at least get a little bit into it and try to understand it. Yeah.
There isn't that hard of a line, and I think that there are some people that you can say they have a deep self-understanding and they have a balanced external life as well.
Energy.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
But for example, Naval,
uh-huh.
He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, but I followed him outside as well.
Yeah.
He has his own podcast, I think.
Yeah.
But Naval, the thing about he has $100 million in the bank or around that somewhere, but he's also, I think, deeply spiritually enlightened, and the people that he interviews on his podcast are like actual geniuses. Sometimes the words that they're saying, I don't even understand. It's like they're taking random strings of words and just putting them together. Yeah. And he's like the medium that translates it for the general audience. But even I think his things, his matter of speaking and his lexicon, for the lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I think it still takes an intelligent person to understand. And I think if you're trying to look into more of who he is, or at least how I found him, just go to his podcast on Joe Rogan. And I think Joe Rogan is the perfect kind of medium to like, I don't want to say to dumb down his language, but to make it more accessible. And then I think once
he has a large range of guests on.
Yeah, he has a large range of guests on.
I think that gives him some kind of experience.
He's also really wise. He's
Reglazing. No,
what?
I'm joking.
No, wow.
Yeah.
It's a compliment.
Yeah.
He's really wise in the fact that he kind of translates things to in like normal people terms, or in general people terms.
Yeah.
And I mean, you want me to continue, or you had something to say?
Yeah, I feel like he asked the right questions for us to understand more. And when you say wise, that really resonates, because we talked about this before, but wisdom is different from knowledge.
Yeah.
And he has wisdom in a sense. Wisdom is experience. And he has experience in a sense that he's talked to such a large range of guests that I think that's what gives him that wisdom.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can agree with you on that, but also, yeah, it aligns with the concept of Richard Feynman and his books on the physics and his philosophy on learning in general. He says you can't truly learn something, or you can't truly understand something unless you can explain it to a 5-year-old without any advanced vocabulary, any jargon, anything. And I don't know the exact truth on this, but I believe that he has in his book, in one of his lectures or in one of his documented books, he goes from counting on the number line, so counting numbers, to up to calculus in like 3 pages in that book. I think I've told you about this before too.
Really?
But
yeah,
it's such a complex understanding of math subjects or math concepts that he can just easily apply it to, or he can skip out on all these definitions, all of that. He can explain the core concept of how they all these variables or all these symbols and all that stuff works together. And I think, or at least I think, that Joe Rogan has that same understanding, where he can process complex topics in his brain, and he can really, is that bad? He can process complex topics in his brain and just give them out to someone that may as well may not comprehend what the other guys are saying as well as he is.
Alright, wait, say that again.
He's a good translator. He's a good medium.
Yeah, okay, I agree. Yeah, because of his experience.
Yeah, and I think if you look past that, or if you look deeper into Naval and you listen to a podcast that Naval has with some of these other guys, I mean, most of his podcasts are quick 10-minute videos explaining one of his tweets or something. But the rare occasion he has a guest on, but these guests, like as I was saying, they're so not incoherent, but they're so wise. And I feel like it's Naval kind of acts as the Joe Rogan in his own podcast, where he takes these words, he kind of processes them, and then he spits them back out to you in a way that someone who can understand his level of wisdom, or not his level of wisdom, but his level of communication, they can kind of understand or they can at least get a gateway into something like that.
Yeah. So do Naval's guests often talk about, I guess, spirituality or subconscious?
His 2 main topics, or the 2 topics that he's famous for, are wealth and happiness. Okay. And he thinks at least that he didn't become this spiritually aware until he was wealthy, and he thinks that, or at least most, if not all, other people would be the same. He says he hopes for like some world where everyone gets rich, and then everyone can, or at least our society would be better if everyone was rich. And he thinks that everyone can be rich, or and there can be an existence of a society where everyone is rich. Really? Yeah. And I don't know how that would work, but, or at least what I was thinking of when I heard that, maybe the older people help the younger, or the older people employ the younger people, and then after a certain time, the younger people go on and they transition into making their own money through entrepreneurship. But I don't know exactly how this would work, because he never expanded on it. Yeah. He just expressed the idea that he would. And I haven't listened to all of his podcasts either. But the reason that I brought him up is he talks about how he sits down and just like doesn't do anything. He just sits there and stares at a wall for a long time. And I've started adopting this practice into my own daily routine too.
Yeah.
Where it's just you and your own thoughts. It's kind of like prison in a way.
It's like meditation.
It's like meditation, but
but meditation you're thinking of nothing.
It's not you're thinking of nothing, but you're thinking of the present. You're more aware. For example, if you got into a kickboxing match, or you're in a professional MMA fight, the only thing you're thinking about is dodging my opponent's punches. I have to elbow him. I have to get the kick. Oh, there's an opening for a takedown. Your focus is solely put in the present moment. That you're not thinking of anything else. There's no actual thoughts running through your head. It's kind of instinct. It's what I call it when I was talking to David, which was the guest on our previous podcast after he left. I called it airplane mode or like autopilot. And I think a lot of athletes also experience this feeling and they refer to it as a flow state. But I think what you're trying to do in conventional meditation is get to that feeling but without doing any activity. You're just sitting there and you're focused on the present. So you're redirecting your focus away from your I don't know, I wouldn't say consciousness, but the thoughts in your consciousness into just thoughts of, like, for example, I just try to think of how my feet feel on the ground, or like how the breath feels in my nose, or the breath feels in the rest of my body.
Really? I always thought that, at least from what I've read, that meditation is you're thinking of nothing, but it's not something that you have to try to achieve. It's when you become so relaxed, you can think about nothing. There's nothing running through your head. And the type of meditation that's practiced in the Vedas and that I've practiced is mantra meditation. So you just say this almost 2 words. It can be multiple words, but it's often 3 or 5 or just a couple of words, and you just say it over and over again. And you're just the only thing that you're focusing on
is the words.
Are those words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the concept of meditation is just to focus on one thing, or just to focus on. Or for me, I did presence meditation. That's the thing that I described, or it's called mindfulness meditation. I think mindfulness.
Yeah.
But you're saying mantra meditation, and I think those are 2 different ways to address the same thing. You're just putting your focus on something.
Yeah.
Instead of spreading it around all over your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing about sitting on the ground and just doing nothing is the exact opposite of that. It's the same feeling I'd equate it to when you go to the shower, for example. And the feeling of it's more of a reflection than it is a meditation, I think.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, well, first I start thinking about myself, and then I start thinking about some random thoughts. I've done this very limited amount of times, like 5 or less.
Yeah.
But I start thinking about myself, and then I start thinking about other people. Sometimes I just play games in my head where I'm like, if I could describe people I know in one word, like what would it be?
What is the benefit of doing this, though?
I feel like it's another way. It's not dreams, but I feel like it could help you master your conscious. And I've noticed directly the correlation that the days that I do this, when I sit down for 1 hour, I feel much, much better in the days afterwards. Or at least I feel like I can achieve a state of mind during the day when I'm not concentrated on my thoughts at all. Whenever I go to school, for example, I'm much more invested in the present moment than I am in my own thoughts. And I feel like doing that, or doing the practice of sitting around and doing reflection, is a key to that. And it helps me be more present. And kind of, it's not exactly the state of meditation. I think the state of meditation is much more advanced than the state in which I feel every day after I do this reflection. But I think it's a state that's at least comparable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I've had a really interesting thought about this. So when I'm eating, because before when I was eating, I would go on my phone or something. Same with when I was driving, I'd put a song. And the reason I stopped doing that was to reduce dopamine, which I think is a thing that's very mainstream. That a lot of people are doing dopamine detox. It wasn't necessarily dopamine detox, but I was just trying to reduce dopamine so that, for whatever, the benefits that you're supposed to receive.
Sure.
But when I started doing this, I noticed that it's not only the dopamine that you're getting the benefit of, but also you're getting the benefit of about thinking about things. And I thought at a time when there was no phones or no iPads or no laptops, this is what the regular would have been. This is what the norm would have been. But now the norm is watching TV or being on your phone. So I think the reason that we need the kind of thing you're talking about now is because people are distracted all the time and they don't have time to recollect their thoughts. I feel like at a previous point in time, the normal time that people collect their thoughts is, for example, when they're eating or when they're commuting somewhere and they're alone. They don't have anything to do or distract themselves with. But now that we do, we're not organizing our own thoughts, and that's leading to a lot of issues.
Like phones on the subway. And yeah, I do agree with that. And you were saying in the last episode that depression was a direct effect of technological development.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Because people have their stuff sorted out less.
Yeah. And, even if you go back to older literature, meditation is so commonly advocated for, this point of not thinking about a lot of things and only thinking about one thing, or just the idea of not thinking as much, because back then we were thinking so much. Yeah. We had so many things we had so much time and we were thinking about so many things. That's why people practice meditation, to take your mind off that. But now I feel like we might need the opposite because of how less we're thinking about things.
Yeah. Because I don't know who I heard this quote from.
Yeah.
But the minute the iPhone came out in 2007, I heard someone say, like, I looked at the person that I was sitting next to and I just told them I'd never be bored again for the rest of my life. And I think being bored is a good thing.
Exactly.
Because being bored helps you kind of think about a lot of things. And I don't know really how to articulate this because this is all just stuff that I've thought to myself.
Yeah.
But it's more... I think it's very helpful not only to myself, but I think society would be better if everyone did it.
I agree. No matter what technology there is, the human mind will always be the same. And it's just not going to change.
Yeah, and it's being like clouded up, or at least, and even to a smaller degree, it's being manipulated by other people through your like content preferences or whatever's happening there.
That's true as well. But the point I was getting at was just, there's this notion I feel like now that there's so much technology, you won't have to do the things that people did before then. For example, this what's it called, that Neuralink or...
Yeah, the Elon Musk thing?
Yeah. Neuralink. Like, I think he's almost pushing a notion that... he's pushing a notion that there's a need to not do certain things you would have had to before. Or this is a good thing. This technological development is a good thing because now you're going to have access to all the information in the world. But something that a lot of our teachers, even at school, reinforce the idea is, what about learning to learn? What about developing your brain? So going back to the point I was making earlier, if we use this Neuralink example, I think the thing could be, you have all the knowledge in the world, now your mind is not developed, but your brain evolutionarily is still the same. If you don't have a developed brain, no matter what information you have access to, that's not a good thing.
That makes sense. So you think technology is hindering our development?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Well, if we're going back to the example of that 1-year-old watching Cocomelon, you think he'd end up like worse once he gets older? You think he won't be able to think as clearly?
Yeah. Mr. B said this. Shout out Mr. B, math teacher.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the watering down of he always mentions the watering down of American education or math education. And he references often how the AP tests have less content on them. And he said it was because he says when we were kids, we didn't have phones and we had more time to think and more time to do certain things. And it's like we were talking about on the UJ episode. And I think because of that, even though we're making these technological developments, if we didn't have these things, we would be making even more progress. If we didn't have something like a phone.
That's an interesting perspective to look at.
Yeah. So it seems that we're developing more, but I think that's just because that's inherently because of the technology. But if we put ourselves in the situation where we didn't have these kind of distractions, our development would go through the roof. But I almost think that this is natural. You know, we often mention how in our belief system we're in the era of suffering, right? I think this is part of that. Personally, that's my belief.
That makes sense.
I think it's inherent with technology that it leads to these kind of things.
That makes sense. I can see why you think that.
Yeah.
You know, this is not really an off topic, but I'll bring it up anyway.
Sure.
You know, another way in which technology is hindering our ability to think, speech. If you look at speakers from 100 years ago, even less than that, speakers from like 50 years ago, they're able to articulate their thoughts a lot more clearly than we are now. I mean, we look at someone like Tate. Why do you think a lot of young people are not addicted, but attracted to Tate?
Mm-hmm.
It's because he's a good speaker. But and our world has so little good speakers. We don't have much. Even our politicians, they can't get their words out clearly.
Yeah. I've expressed this view before, but I read a book last year. We had a class called Literature of the South, and I read William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying. Mm-hmm. And these people are uneducated, but their language is so precise. I felt as if they were describing their thoughts with such precision that I've never seen before something like that. And even if you look at our old governmental documents, it's very, very precise, but it's also harder to understand. So initially what I thought after reading this was our communication has developed. We've gotten to a point where we can use less advanced vocabulary, less advanced grammar, sentence structure, but we can still get more through. We can still get more communications through. But now, that was what I thought initially after reading those kind of things. But now I see that communication issues are still prevalent, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think that or at least you kind of touched on this, but you didn't directly address it. I think that we've kind of devolved in terms of communication. I don't know what you meant by communication issues are still present. You're saying they were present back then?
Yeah. So in that book, the characters, there's a lot of miscommunication and there's a lot of not communicating that leads. I would say it's a bad ending, and I thought that was one of the things that led to that ending.
Bad ending in terms of writing quality, or just bad as in terms
bad
of the
ending in terms of the events that happened in the story. Yeah. The characters' communication I'm talking about, but even though they communicated with such precision, with such precision, I felt their communication wasn't good. So initially that led me to compare it with our communication. I thought, our communication is better. But then if you really reflect, our communication isn't great either. Mm-hmm. So
even during this podcast itself, I've had multiple times in which I've wanted to say or choose the right words to say something, but I can't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can really feel, because I mean, if you look at TikTok, for example, a lot of people just start using some TikTok vocabulary and they kind of throw out the stuff that they have in their brain. Mm-hmm. And it goes to their, well, I don't want to say subconscious, but it goes somewhere else.
You know, what you said about you couldn't find the right words to say, that's really interesting, because maybe it's the fact that we just can't our communication has deteriorated so much that we can't understand their form of communication. But the people at that time could have.
Yeah.
Or I thought it was bad. I don't think it's a general consensus that their communication was bad. But maybe that's why I thought it was bad.
What? Because we've regressed so much that it's become worse?
Maybe.
I could see that, yeah.
And the story is the story. It's
the story,
it's not an example. Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to look at something like the Constitution, people argue that's the greatest piece of governing ever, and that was written with such precision. So
Yeah.
that's obviously the story is whatever.
I feel like writing and speaking are different though.
Yeah.
And I feel like what technology has done, as we were talking about earlier, how it kind of clouds up our brain to where people can't get their thoughts together. I feel like there's slowly like a bridge that disconnects. On one side of the bridge, there's our thoughts, and then on the other side, there's our speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, for me at least, I feel like I think at a very advanced level, but I can't speak at a very advanced level. For example, even in Telugu, which is my mother tongue, there's a lot of times when I just can't find the right word to say, and I feel like I've felt that it's a regression of my ability to speak the language. But also, when I was a kid, and I think there didn't exist that bridge that disconnected my thoughts and my speech. Because even now, whenever people talk in the most advanced, even when I go to the village and people are talking, I understand every single thing that they're saying. So there's that proof that at least somewhere in here, I have the ability to speak that as well. But I don't really know how to address the problem because I've stopped using technology, but I feel like my speech is still remained at the same level.
Yeah, so you're saying almost that it's been pushed back somewhere, that knowledge. And maybe reading or looking more into that or accessing that information could have a real world effect, and it could help you, find the right words in that language.
Everything that I've ever thought about is somewhere in my brain.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just shoved back into the part that I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I told you this as well, but some of the few days after I started writing down my dreams, and as I'm going back to sleep, I remember such like vivid, like deep memories from my childhood that I've just never thought about. This one time I remember this memory. I was like, I haven't thought about it. I remember the thought of thinking, I've never thought about this memory in the past 10 years. And this is the first time I'm addressing that.
That's crazy.
And then instantly, I go to sleep, I wake up, I forget what I was thinking about. But I remember the feeling. The only thing I remember from that experience is the feeling of experiencing that memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but when I went to India, after I came back from Qatar and I went to India, I sat on my bed and then I just closed my eyes. And then immediately I was at the airport. The airport in Qatar as I was going back to India. And then I told my mom, so we had two suitcases, a black suitcase and a blue suitcase. I was sitting on the blue suitcase. My jacket was hung up on the black suitcase. I was sitting by the side of the male bathroom.
Yeah.
There's a gray wall. Male bathroom was on this side, women's bathroom was on this side, and there's a drinking fountain in the middle. And I was sitting on the male side of the thing on the blue suitcase, and with the black suitcase in my left hand. I remember how the metal bars felt against my hand. My mom walked out of the women's bathroom, and she said, like, what's up? And I told her, tell my sister to hurry up so we can get on this plane and not miss our flight. And then instantly as I thought that, I was like, I'm not even here right now. I'm in my bed. I'm sleeping inside my bed at this very moment. I'm sitting in this bed with my eyes closed. And then for 30 seconds, I think, this was the thought of this is why I don't refer to meditation as not thinking nothing. Because I think in those 30 seconds, I thought of absolutely nothing. There's no brain activity happening. Like, my last brain cell just disappeared like that. And I was just stuck in this dark space. I don't even know if it's a dark space. I can't.
You just didn't think of it.
I didn't think of anything.
But it was there.
I know it was there, because I remember when I started getting my consciousness back, I was thinking, let me move my legs so I know that I'm here. I couldn't move my legs. I thought, let me try to feel the blanket that's on top of me. I couldn't feel the blanket there. I couldn't feel anything at all.
Wait, you thought to feel that blanket?
Yeah.
But you said there was no thoughts.
No. I'm saying for solid 30 seconds there was no thoughts, and then my brain started processing it, and I was like, holy shit, I just thought of nothing for the past 30 seconds. And then I was like, can I move? I know that I'm in this bed because my brain knows that information. There's information that's stuck in my head that this brain is, or my brain knows the information that I was sitting in this bed, and that potentially closed my eyes and went to sleep. That's the thing. The thing that I first thought of when I saw the airport scene, it's a dream, right? It has to be a dream. Even though it felt insanely real, it's a dream. Because I was probably asleep.
But you knew it was a dream in the dream.
I knew it was a dream as soon as I told my mom to tell my sister to hurry up.
In the dream. That it wasn't. But that was in the dream.
I knew that it wasn't real.
That airport part was in the dream.
I think so.
Ask your mom.
I asked my mom, but
she said she doesn't remember that.
She just said you're crazy. She told me that.
Don't tell her the whole story. Just tell her were we sitting at this. Do you remember us sitting in the airport and I asked you, tell my sister to hurry up?
It could have happened. I'm not denying that.
But it also happened in your dream? You just don't know.
Dude, I remember coming home and I remember going to sleep. Yeah?
Okay.
But then this exact memory, I don't know if it's a memory or a dream or whatever, because I don't remember that specific scene. I don't remember it happening at the airport, but it could have happened because my mom and my sister went to the bathroom before when I was just sitting outside. It could have happened.
Wait. It could have happened at the airport?
Before I came back, it could have happened. That was a memory that definitely could have happened. Because there's a lot of times when my mom and my sister...
So this was after you came back to St. Louis?
No, after I came back to...
You went back to your hotel... Oh, you went back to your home in India?
Yeah, from Qatar.
And that's when you remembered this?
Yeah.
You remembered this?
I laid on the bed and I closed my eyes. And then this exact scene played out exactly how I described it.
As a dream or a memory?
I'm not sure. 30 seconds of silence. It felt really real. It felt insanely real. Like it was super palpable. I could see the colors with my eyes. I could feel the texture of the suitcase on my butt. I could feel the metal rod I was holding on the other suitcase with my left hand.
But as a memory, you knew this wasn't real.
I knew it wasn't real because when I said the words to my mom, I thought, I'm not here right now. I'm actually sitting in the bed.
Oh, but you're saying it could have happened, it could have happened, and then when you were there, you could have been thinking, this is not real right now.
That's not what I was saying.
Oh.
But could that have happened?
Like you were at the airport.
I felt that I was really at the airport. It was insanely real to me that I was at the airport.
Okay, and you asked your mom and she gave you no confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, let me finish the story.
Sure.
So what happened after that 30 seconds of silence, or I just call it silence. I don't know what it actually was. At least to me, it felt like this is the feeling, or after when I think about this, because I still remember what it felt like, or not really. I just remember kind of. I don't know how to describe it. That's something that I have no words to describe.
I need to process this.
There's something that I have no words to describe, but I feel like this is the feeling that I felt either before my birth or after my death. Like in a scientific sense.
That feeling of nothing.
Of nothingness. And then my brain started catching up with like shit, like what the fuck is happening to me. And then I tried to move my hands. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't feel anything. And then I tried to move my legs. I couldn't feel anything. And then I tried to feel the blanket and I couldn't feel anything.
This experience feels vaguely familiar. Two things you said that struck me. One is the dream feeling so real that you remember the sensory details.
Mm-hmm.
That has definitely happened to me before. And when I think of that, I immediately think of, and also the thing of, when I'm dreaming itself, I'm telling myself, this is not real. I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
Those two things are familiar feelings. But something I think of when I think of that sensory detail is when you're younger, and in the dream, you feel, or when you, in real life, when you're younger and you piss yourself, in the dream something happens, right? You're doing something in that dream that's related to water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that first part or that sensory detail part could have been something you were feeling on your bed. It could have struck something.
Yeah.
All right. And then this feeling of nothing. I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know what to make of it either. I still haven't my brain hasn't processed what actually happened.
I would need to take time to break it down. I think we should talk about it after this episode.
Yeah, we can if you want to. But at least I think that I've actually started keeping, I said, like first it was Bleach, then it was YouTube, whatever. but I feel like that experience actually helped me stay consistent with it.
You know,
'Cause
maybe
I still think to this day that's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. There's no
Yeah.
way, because I can't even like think about it.
maybe it's related to lucid dreaming.
I don't know, because what if it was lucid dreaming? Then wouldn't I just wake up?
I think it's lucid dreaming, but
Or
something
wouldn't
went
I-
wrong
wouldn't I-
somewhere.
Something went wrong somewhere.
What did you
My brain just
do?
fucked up. No, but it's what I immediately thought of, for like a day, I was kind of going crazy.
Yeah.
I thought maybe like this, you know, the simulation theory, right?
Yeah.
I thought this might be a thing. My brain just might be in a jar, and this body is just something that my brain is just configuring. Because one, because of how real that dream felt, and two, because of how real the nothingness felt, or the dream or the memory or whatever.
You know, I've felt this thing. This feeling is familiar where you can't move. Bro, it's familiar, and I'm not just saying this because you said it, but this feeling is familiar.
Is it?
I'm being serious. Like, I'm not joking, or I'm not saying this just because you said it. But it's a familiar feeling, but it's so far off that I can't think about it.
Yeah.
But I remember at a point sitting in bed, not being able to move.
Yeah.
But it's so far off, I can't remember it.
Yeah.
So
I think
maybe this
you're gonna have
isn't.
to do some thinking to get there.
One theory is this isn't as rare as you think it is, but the reason that you're so in touch with it is because of the dream journaling you've been doing.
You think?
Yeah.
That is an interesting.
Because
theory.
when you said this, I thought of it. It felt familiar, but so far off. But maybe if I was dream journaling at that time, that would have stuck with me more.
Maybe. I don't know, man. It's too much to wrap my head around.
It's too much to wrap up.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying when you say it's scary in a way, because even then, like talking about it or thinking about it, I felt kind of scared.
Yeah.
Like, or I mean, I felt scared for the whole day after I experienced it. But I think it's important. I think it should be a thing that I should do.
And then you're just there. Like, that's the thing. And then you're just there in the physical world.
Yeah.
Just back to normal.
Yeah. But what if this isn't the normal? What if that was a normal, but I only got a very brief touch of it? That's what I thought the entire time.
I'm going to start keeping track of my dreams after this.
Yeah. Dude. It's crazy.
Maybe this is that push we need.
To
become a yogi.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know what that was.
Maybe we've got somewhere.
It was really scary. I thought my brain was in a jar for the whole day after. I thought this is a simulation.
That'd be a scary
But
feeling.
then I told my mom, and my mom was just like, if you keep thinking your brain's in a jar, you're gonna jump off a cliff someday to prove that it's not, or that this isn't real. And she's just like, just don't think about it.
Podcasting is crazy. Podcasting about it is crazy.
Yeah, I feel. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is a relevant subject, no? So I brought it up.
Well, that must be even scarier for you. Podcasting about
Yeah,
that, bro.
no, I got shivers when I was talking about it, bro. Yeah, you think coyotes are scary, bro?
Oh yeah.
I fucking know. My hands are shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long are we at?
How long were we at? I don't know. 1592. The UJ one went up to 2290 something. I don't know what this is. What measure this is? I think it's metronome notes.
Come on, man. Okay, I think we started at 6:30ish. Wait, no, we didn't.
Definitely not. It's not. That has been an hour.
6:40, I say.
I still don't think it's been an hour. The UJ one was an hour 20.
Alright,
now.
fine. Yeah, you're right. But
And
I feel like
that would be such a weird place to end it off at.
yeah.
Like, damn, the ops got us.
You
You just cut it off in the middle of a sentence.
A Matrix got us. I don't know what to end it off on though.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm gonna start journaling.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing, and I think at least I feel like I've kind of suppressed that memory as well, because I've really had no one to talk to about it. Yeah, dream journaling is a thing, and I feel like I've suppressed the memory for so long because I just hadn't no one to talk to it about. First I told my mom, then I told my sister, and then I just never told anyone.
We can
again.
talk more about it after this because I actually want to understand what happened.
Yeah, sure, that works. But yeah, I think it is a connection to divinity, and I think that exploring the subconscious at least is something that we should go into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only conclusion I had about it after
This
that.
is,
I feel like I still haven't understood enough about that experience
To
nor
talk.
any of my other dreams.
we should follow up
There-
on it in another episode.
Sure. There's no link between anything that I've written down in my dream book. Where's my phone? I can literally read out some of the things.
Sure.
Actually, I don't know if
I think that would be interesting. You know, one thing I had the other day, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I remembered the dream I had. Right? Rishi.
Oh wow. Okay, I forgot about this dream even though I had it today.
Alright.
So, okay, let's start with the first one.
That's
we-
crazy. You just remember the dream that you had today?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's what I was just about to say. You can continue this after, but I woke up at 4 a.m. and I had a dream, and I remembered it so vividly.
In the first like 8 to 10
Did I tell you about it?
No. Even the first 1 to 2 minutes after you wake up, right?
Yeah. And then it just went. It just went away. It was for it wasn't 1 to 2 minutes, because I've had that before. That's a common feeling. What was different about this was it was almost 30 minutes I stayed awake after that. This was on a weekend. It wasn't today, sorry. And then I fell back asleep, and then it was gone.
Really? Wow.
And then I had another dream. It was, yeah.
You know, there's 2 dreams that I had in
But I
2013.
remember thinking about it. Hold up.
Sure.
I might be able to
I don't know
remember.
if you could remember it.
I-
It would be kind of hard.
It would be very hard. But I remember a character who was in it, or a person who was in it, and I'm trying to think, who was it? I know who it was.
What was it?
But I'm not going to say it on the
Alright, fine, we
podcast.
can say it after.
Yeah.
But there's actually 2 dreams that I remember from now, but
And
from,
okay.
from way further before, back in
Yeah.
2013 and 2014, I think are the 2 years that I had these dreams. And the first one, I went to the summer camp, and they're saying announcing dismissal or something. They're saying we're
Oh, you
announcing
told me about
dismissal.
this,
I
yeah.
told you about this
Yeah.
that day, yeah. But I said they kept saying like we're announcing dismissal or something like that. Whenever they kept calling us out for our parents to pick us up, I was 7 years old maybe at the summer camp, and I remember I was in this room with Iron Man, Superman, and someone else, and they're sitting around this table and they're playing some card game, and there's like an audio system, and it was just playing announcing for dismissal, announcing for dismissal, announcing dismissal, and it just kept going on and on and on. And then I remember there's this like little button here that I pressed, and I became like super massive. But that's not an important part. And the second one is when me and one of my super close family friends, we just went to heaven. That was a dream. I forgot what we did up there. I remember in heaven when I was very young, when I was like 6 months to 1 year old, I used to sit in this seat. It was a green plastic-ish seat, and my legs would just come out like this, and then I'm like super small and stuffy in that thing. It's a little container for me to sit in when I was a baby up to when I was like 2-3 years old. And I remember me and the other person both sat in that container.
Was it Gunna?
No, it wasn't Gunna, it was Oshfir.
Oh.
But we both started
Oh,
laughing.
you told me.
Yeah, we both started laughing, and that's the last I remember of it. But as of late, here are some of the dreams. I'll choose.
You know, on that note, I had something similar. This wasn't a dream, but when I was sitting on the toilet, like when I was younger,
Yeah.
when I was sitting on the toilet when I was younger, we had this crowning on our walls,
Mhm.
and I used to pretend I was in a circle with like Iron Man, Hulk,
Yeah.
and like Spider-Man or something, and I would like, so we had this cabinet next to me, right? This is so unrelated,
Sure.
but we had this cabinet next to me, and I'd make this pattern on it every single time. That was the password to unlock my computer. And then I would type a message. I'd like pretend like I was typing a message in this crowning, and then it would go around like as if we were in a circle. And then
No way.
yeah. Anyways, that was related, but no. So those dreams you remember, right? I have 2 very specific dreams that I've told you about.
Yeah.
One
Okay,
is
so-
very strange. It's this dream where I'm stuck in this facility, this warehouse thing, and it's these
Yeah, you told me.
Star Wars characters,
Stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers and Anakin. It's the Clone Wars people, the animated ones.
Yeah.
Except in the dream, I'm real and they're all animated,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That happens.
and they're chasing me through this facility. And the reason I say this is because I have this same dream on the same day every single year.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah. And it always wakes up. This elevator opens. I'm in this elevator, and I always wake up when that elevator opens, and they're all facing me.
Mm-hmm. Did you say General Grievous came out of the
General
elevator?
Grievous was the leader of that group that's facing me.
Yeah, crazy.
That's there. Yeah.
What's the other one?
The other one, okay, I have two other ones, but one I remember really clearly was that. Actually, I don't know. It's not even that important, but.
All right, I'll continue with mine.
Sure.
See, some of these are really random. Author of Vinland Saga wanted the reader to listen to a variety interview in which Oppenheimer calls in some dude named Toppenheimer. That was literally one of them. I woke up and wrote this down. Oh, this one is kind of sad. My mom gives me a lot of old pictures and videos on accident as a college app.
Oh,
For my college app, and they're full of memories that never happened. And then there's a lot with my dad. And I was like, what does this mean? And I listed out a couple of them. I was walking on the road as a 5-year-old with a balloon, and someone takes it from me and runs away. And the other one is me at like 10 making a TikTok with my dad at the beach, and he just looks super tired. And then that one is a sad one for me because I just woke up and just realized that none of them were real. And it was such a nice feeling, and it just like slowly went away as soon as I woke up. Another one, cybersecurity. My life was exposed, public, and everyone was taking advantage. I dated blank for some reason, and she turned into an app too. Or, no, she turned into an op, not an app.
Oh, but that name's written down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching Iga, and the villain was absolutely whack and had a ton of guns. He kills everyone in a room and shoots a guy in his balls with his guns after shooting his hands off and giving him a briefcase with a bomb. Okay, was talking to blank about blank. And then in parentheses I put small wee wee.
What the hell? Okay.
And military operations started. Fought this guy like Fire Force, but the military power overpowered us and we had to retreat.
Alright, that's enough, bro.
Okay, now here's the last one.
Okay,
This is the one that I had today that I remember. Okay. Out on a walk with a shower head and an extension cord, see a werewolf, starts attacking me, perfect human speech. I tell it to stop and he's like, I can't do that. Absolutely mauls me. I texted Messi and he knows how to speak English.
This is crazy though. You remember your dreams every day.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to start dream journaling, especially the audience.
Yeah.
It's something interesting. I think we can definitely learn something from this if more people do it. More research needs to be put out. Weird ass dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my dream was pretty weird too. I'll tell you about it after this.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. I think.
Well, I just remember it was weird. I mean, but
sure.
The only thing I remember about it was the character. Yeah.
All right. Is that a good place to end it?
Yeah. Dream journaling.
Dream journaling. Good thing. Peace.
Yep.